Hello again. Our Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has launched a bounce-back scheme aimed at supporting SMEs struggling due to the Covid-19 pandemic. Let's take a look now into the role of entrepreneurship following the Minister's budget and the role small businesses can play in growing South Africa's economy and, of course, create those much-needed jobs. I'm joined now by Dr. Jabulile Msimango-Galawe, a senior lecturer at Wits Business School. You know, as I read your surname there, Doctor, I thought, is it a H or is it a G? You know, being South Africans, we've got all these things. I hope I didn't butcher your surname.
No, you pronounced it perfectly.
Welcome,
yes.
Welcome. What stood out for you, just at a high level, from the Finance Minister's budget speech around the whole issue of entrepreneurship? Because we're told time and again that it's in the small business sector, it's in the medium business sector with entrepreneurs where jobs can be created.
Interestingly, thank you first for having me. Interestingly, then, every time when these speeches get made, sometimes you see these positives that comes from the speeches, but you hold yourself from getting excited because the issue becomes when it goes out there and needs to be implemented. Is it going to work?
Yeah, yesterday in post-budget analysis, different people I spoke to, whether it was economists or business people, come back to that one word, implementation.
Yes, because everybody will tell you South Africa has got the best policies, it's got the best everything written down. But when you go down there and now start really experiencing what happens there, tends to be a different story. So you find, like, even when you listen to the president talking, he talks about SMEs, he talks about as something very important for the country. But the people who are tasked to make sure that these things get implemented, I'm not sure whether they are reading or singing from the same hymn book.
Okay, just park implementation for 1 second on the side, but listening to the minister talking about this bounce-back scheme, because we know how much small and medium businesses and entrepreneurs have suffered during this COVID-19 pandemic. But even before, there was a challenge in accessing capital, in getting things done. But we know about the importance of the role of entrepreneurship in our economy.
Yeah, there's no doubt entrepreneurship is key in creating the job, in playing a role in our economic growth. And this bounce back scheme is an important one because COVID-19 has caused a lot of havoc within the SME space. And one of the biggest problems we had even before COVID was the issue of access to finance. So you go out there, you get the speeches, it tells you about these billions that are out there. But then you go to access that funding is a total different story. The list of requirements that are expected that entrepreneurs must comply with, it just is like looking for entrepreneurship, corporate risk in an entrepreneur. You won't find that. Entrepreneurship in its very nature is risky, but the requirement says you must be a corporate for us to give you this entrepreneurship money.
Yeah, something is not aligned.
It's not aligned, then entrepreneurs can access it.
Is it an area where you would think somebody like Siponkoso, who's now in the presidency, heading that red tape solution committee to remove red tape, should be focusing on? Is it one thing that they should also look into?
It is something important to look at because you can cut all the red tape, whatever they view as red tape, shorten the processes and all that. But if the requirements says no to entrepreneurs, we still go back to the same thing. There's 15 billion is there. By the end of the financial year, you find that only 5% of that is used. Because if you also look at the SME, you find that people who likely comply or be able to meet the requirements are the M part of the SME. When you go to the other part, you find that they don't meet the requirement. As much as the scheme talk about people who are not, who don't qualify or not bankable, that they are the ones who are supposed to benefit, but we still stand to see whether the requirements are going to be changed and adjusted in a way that allows those people who have not been able to access all these billions that they talk about, whether they'll be able to access them now.
So the access issue is very important, and it will go down to the kinds of requirements. Yes. So there's going to be a level of or degree of agility, maybe, that needs to be applied by the government. But government, being government, moves slow on some of these things.
Yeah, I think that the agents, I was happy to see that he spoke about it being implemented like it's like an immediate thing. That one was good. It was a good thing. But then at the same time, the agencies, because he's taking it back to the banks, who are the same banks and the same institutions that were supposed to help also with the COVID-19 at the beginning, and we know what happened there. Then the question becomes, has then the mandate changed for the banks as to how now they're going to facilitate this whole process?
Yeah, because besides implementation and access, there has to be a level of facilitation to enable the SMEs and entrepreneurs to gain. Now, before we conclude, Dr. Msimango-Galawe, if you're an entrepreneur and you're listening to this, yes, there's going to be these billions, as you said. Yes, they're going to be available immediately. Yeah. And yes, now we can access them, but then hopefully the process will be cleaned up. What else would you appeal to the government to really make sure that this time we get it right? Because on top of the pandemic, we had the July riots, yeah, which badly affected the livelihoods of small and medium businesses.
Yeah. So my appeal really will be to put the agency in terms of getting this rolled out, and also that agency must be really emphasized to the DFIs and the banking institutions that are going to be doing this. But more than that, I always say to entrepreneurs, always take an optimistic approach to these things. You never know. Don't sit back and say, it's been an issue, I didn't get it the last time. Go for it. You never know. You might find that the requirements are a bit different now, which we hope are, and we hope that the government will really look at that to make sure that it is accessible. It's not money that keeps on being repeatedly said, there's billions, but they don't add any value to entrepreneurs.